right, and welcome everybody to week 3 of the Record High School Football Preview. My name is Austen Gregerson. I'm joined alongside sports editor Cody Erbacher. We're here to preview this Friday night's games. And first of all, I want to get a little bit of feedback from Cody. He was last week was his first experience with St. Johns County football. Was over at the Menendez-St. Augustine game. So I guess Cody, just first of all, what were your impressions from both teams, and what do you really think about the performance so far?
To begin, these fans out here, it was electrifying, the stands. St. Augustine, Menendez, great competition, really close game, and, the fans were just in it the whole time. Mm-hmm. It was really just such a great atmosphere out there.
Yeah, that's one thing that, it becomes pretty apparent once you're around here enough, is that St. Johns County really does love the football. It's why we get the hits, why we get the paycheck sometimes. So we'll get right into it. First game of the week is Menendez hosting Interlochen. Now, definitely a step down in competition for Menendez, coming off a really hard-fought loss to St. Augustine, as you were there to witness. Interlochen is not going to be a team that's going to really challenge them on the field as far as talent goes. Interlochen is very much in a kind of nebulous rebuilding phase that they never really seem to get out of. But and just going from you, what were some of the things that Menendez did that you think are going to be able to kind of get some success from against a team that's not as talented as St. Augustine?
Watch out from their backfield attack, because the combination of Steph Carter and Trayvon Martin was really
Javon Bryant.
Oh, Javon Bryant. Sorry, folks. Getting used to the area. But with Martin and Bryant back there, they really used a lot of ball fakes. Some QB options, and it was really getting them a lot of yards against a great St. Augustine defense. And against this next team coming up here Friday, just expect a lot more of that, and they should be able to score quite a bit, probably run up the score a bit against them too.
Right, and that's the thing, you don't really appreciate it until you learn about the county a little bit. The fact that Menendez and St. Augustine were in a 23-20 game late in the game is kind of shocking. So it tells you how far the Falcons have come, and a lot of that is built on the running backs, Javon Bryant. Just doing an excellent job so far this season. Really giving them an identity on offense, and then you have Willie Harvey at linebacker. Really just balancing them out and giving them two distinct leaders on both sides of the ball that's going to really lead them to, I think, a lot of success this year. As far as what playoffs come, we don't get into districts until next week. So we'll see what happens then, but they're definitely going to be an interesting team to watch.
And I just want to chime in here really quick. Mm-hmm. Their offense was very fast-paced, and it moved the ball downfield, but their defense did a great job at times holding St. Augustine, who had just a ton of offensive weapons, but you still saw a lot from Menendez's defense, really being able to stop them and turn the ball over once in a while.
Right. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on the Falcons this year. Next game is West Nassau at Nice, and I was really impressed by the way that Nice kind of bounced back last week after getting kind of blown out by Ponte Vedra. They were in that game early on, but just things got kind of out of hand. But they come back with a big win last week, and now they come against a West Nassau team that is 1-1, but not a whole lot of impressive. Their one win was, I believe, a 14-10 win, and it wasn't against a very impressive team. But what I've liked out of them so far is that they have 3 guys on offense who have kind of stepped up and really filled the void that I wasn't quite sure who was going to, be able to be called upon as a playmaker in the future for them. And those guys are Justin Lee, a quarterback, Justin Johnson at wideout, who I did expect to have a big season out of, and then a running back. Kendrick Harris is among one of the leaders in the region as far as rushing yards. So these guys are leading them as far as being able to kind of negate the defense is not necessarily shortcomings, but just being able to really give them a chance to win games, which is something that's going to be important for Shane Matthews as he tries to kind of turn this program around. I expect a win for Nice. We'll see how they kind of carry momentum. It's always tough with a younger team. You want to see how they form week to week, how they handle the win. But I was especially kind of encouraged by how they handled the loss and were able to come back with it. So hopefully Nice keeps things going. Next game, why I say Creekside is visiting Palatka, one of my favorite places to watch a football game in the county is Palatka Stadium, just because it's really old school. It's out in the country. It's kind of what you imagine Southern football to be like, and it's not one of these stadiums that are just kind of 2 sets of bleachers put up in the middle of a field. It's an old school football stadium, so definitely a recommended place to go watch a game. But again, Creekside is proving that they're going to be able to move forward without some of the guys they had in the past, like Adam Sandin, quarterback, Livio Hoxa, running back. They're being able to, I mean, they shut out a team last week, you know, a Parker team that frankly isn't very good, but they beat them, frankly, how they should have been beaten. So I like what they see out of them. Historically, these Creekside Palatka games has always been very interesting. 13-10, I think Creekside won both times the last 2 years. So we'll see what happens this Friday. I expect another close game. It's not going to be a blowout by anyone, but you know, another good bounce back win for Creekside last week. So we'll see how they do. Next game is Ponte Vedra at Providence. Now, Ponte Vedra is the only undefeated team in the county left after 2 weeks, which is, you know, kind of shocking. But for my money, I would say that the Sharks are the most balanced team in the county, just because I know what they're going to do defensively with their linebackers. You know, enough has been said about Dylan Bates and Joe Carter, but offensively, they've really, I mean, it's a little lopsided, it's a little one-directional heavy, but rushing the ball is something that they're going to be able to do well every single game. They already have over 400 yards rushing in 2 games, many of those coming by Curtis Willingham, their running back, who had the 200-yard game in the first week, and he himself is 6th in the region in rushing. So when you have a kind of team identity that's going to be able to really choke out teams with your defense, and then kind of cut the game short with the offense, just grinding out the clock, just keeping it running, it's really going to be a very, I mean, it's a successful formula. It's not a very exciting formula when you see, you know, spread options and all this stuff. You know, you saw Chip Kelly with the Eagles on Monday night. You saw how that went. But the kind of old school grinded out, you know, 27-10 games. I think we're going to see Ponte Vedra win a lot of those. Against Providence, I really wouldn't expect it to be that close, to be honest. I think we're going to get another big win at Ponte Vedra as we get into district play, and then we'll really see how they do against, you know, St. Augustine, how they do against some of the, you know, more established district powers. Against Barton Trail, that's one game I'm very excited to see. So next game on the list is St. Joseph at Osceola Christian. Osceola Christian is out in the Panhandle of Florida. Don't know too much about them, but I do know that the Flashes are hopefully going to get their first touchdown this week, which will be a good step forward for them. It's always tough when you're taking over a program for Coach Matt Lesnovich. Obviously, last year was kind of a rough year for them from personnel standpoint, only having about 14 players on the team last year. But it takes time to get some of the progress moving forward. And against Osceola Christian, you know, just the travel alone is tough to deal with. But we'll see how they do, you know, against a little bit of challenge, because it's a low for on the season, which is, you know, unfortunate for the Flashes. But last game on the list is St. Augustine at Ridgeview. Now, with Ridgeview, St. Augustine had them in the first round of the playoffs last year. Very hotly contested game. It was only, I believe it was about a 34-27 game. It was a one score with St. Augustine winning. A little bit of controversy with the referees, and some of the people think that the officiating may have been a bit skewed towards one side, and guess which one. But again, both these teams are 1-1. I do like the way that St. Augustine bounced back. I don't even want to guess what would have happened with the St. Augustine fans had they lost to Menendez. Twitter may have exploded, but it's they came back. I mean, it was a hard-fought game, but it was something that they needed to do to kind of, you know, right the ship and make sure the Earth stayed on its axis. So against Ridgeview, they have 327 yards of offense per game. So they're another one of these high-powered offenses that, you know, frankly, St. Augustine has struggled against the last two weeks. No one's going to be bringing the athletes that Trinity Christian has, and no one's going to be as motivated to play St. Augustine as Menendez was last week. But Ridgeview, they have offensive playmakers. They have guys who can really hurt them, and I want to see how Joy Wild's kind of tweaking their defense personnel-wise. I've heard of a few moves they're making, and we'll see how that kind of pays off as far as, you know, putting guys who may not be your first thought at a position, maybe putting a smaller guy at linebacker, but if that smaller guy is a better tackler, which is something they've been having a problem with. We'll see, you know, see how that works out. One of the things I always like about Joy Wilds is that he doesn't have a big ego when it comes to putting people in position. He's always going to put the best guy he thinks is going to make his defense mainly, but make his team successful. So, with that, all right. And our last game of the week is St. Augustine at Ridgeview. Now, these two teams met last year in the playoffs. It was a hotly contested game. I believe it was about a 34-27 game. But one of the things I did like to see from St. Augustine was that they came back from a big blowout loss to Trinity Christian, came back with a, some people don't like me using this word, but a rivalry win against Menendez, a very motivated team. So I do like where they're at, and they're going to be, they're going to be tweaking the team throughout the season as far as who they're going to be relying on at different positions, because they're, they're a young team. They're still trying to figure out who are their playmakers going to be. So I just wanted to ask you, as we wrap up here, who are some of the players from the guys that you thought kind of stood out to you for St. Augustine?
Well, they used about a 4-guy backfield attack, but Patrick Stewart really led that ground game. He ran for a little over 160 yards on 18 carries, and he was just moving the ball downfield the whole time. But what really surprised me was they have freshman quarterback Cole Northrup. I talked to him after the game. This kid's mature. Their rosters, it didn't say what age he was, and I really thought this kid was a junior or senior until he told me he was a freshman. So that was a surprising factor.
That was one thing that the press box actually told me, was that they didn't print the years for their players because they didn't want people to know just how young they were. They wanted to kind of figure out later on. But so it might not be that great for them this year, but I do think in the future you're going to see St. Augustine get back to where they are. So they have a tough one against Richfield coming up this Friday. And with that, I'll wrap it up. My thanks to you for watching. My thanks to Cody Erbacher for sitting in here with me. My name is Austen Gregerson. You can follow me at AV Gregerson, him at Cody Erbacher, both of us at Record Sports, or hit us up online at www.staugustine.com/sports. So if I don't see you Friday night, I'll see you online.